Being a one-hit wonder in R&B is supposed to mean you didn't make it. One song, maybe two, then gone. The narrative writes itself. But tonight, we are not talking about artists who didn't make it. We are talking about the 10 who made it so completely, with a single song, that the genre never quite caught up to them.
I guess you wonder where I've been.
One moment, one record, and it outsang everything around it. These are the 10 R&B one-hit wonders who didn't just survive the 70s, they defined them. Number 10, William DeVaughn, Be Thankful for What You Got. 1970, man who made it, had no plans to be a recording artist. None. He was a government employee, literally. A drafting technician in Washington, D.C., paid $900 of his own money just to get through a studio door. This was 1972. William DeVaughn had been writing a song called A Cadillac Don't Come Easy. Cleaned it up, sent it to a production house in Philadelphia called Omega Sound. And what came back from that session sounded like Curtis Mayfield had written it on his most spiritual night. Tone, that belief, that simple searching gospel pull in the lyrics, you could feel it before you even understood what it was saying. Then the MFSB guys walked in, the same musicians laying down Philly soul hits at Philadelphia International Records. They heard the track, and they decided this one was worth their time. Arrangement came together the way great things sometimes do, naturally, inevitably, like it was already written somewhere, and they were just finding it. Probably heard that line, diamond in the back, sun rooftop, digging the scene with a gangsta lean, at a cookout or a family reunion before you ever knew who sang it. The phrase became a cultural fingerprint. NWA sampled it. De La Soul built a record around it. Ludacris came back to it. The phrase outlived the moment by decades, but here is what gets me about this story. Number 9, the Hues Corporation, Rock the Boat, 1974. You know this song. You've heard it at every party, every old school cookout, every family reunion for 50 years. But I promise you, you do not know this story.
And I've always had your tender lips to keep me warm.
Because the producer of Rock the Boat listened to the finished version and called the lyrics trite, called them trite, and made it a B-side.
Don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat. Don't tip the boat over. Rock the boat. Don't rock the boat.
The Hues Corporation formed in Santa Monica in 1969. They named themselves after Howard Hughes Corporation, H-U-E-S, to avoid the lawyers. Smart group. They spent years playing Las Vegas clubs and opening for Frank Sinatra before landing a deal with RCA. The song Rock the Boat came from their 1973 debut album.
It's like a ship on the ocean. We've been sailing with a...
Radio ignored it. The record just sat there for months with nowhere to go. Then something happened in a few small clubs in New York City. Underground spaces, gay clubs, the kind of rooms where DJs were building what the world would later call disco. They found this track, and they played it, and the crowd lost their minds over a song that a producer had tossed to the back of the record. RCA cranked up the bass, remixed it, re-released it. In July of 1974, Rock the Boat went to #1 pop, #1 R&B. It hit the top 10 in the UK, sold over 2 million copies.
Said I'd like to know where you got the notion.
It is still on every slow dance playlist, every 70s throwback night, every summer anywhere in the world, a song the industry almost buried. But here is what the history books tend to leave out.
Your touch just thrills me like the rush of the wind. And your arms have...
The lead vocalist, Fleming Williams, the voice you know, the one carrying that whole record, left the group shortly after the song was recorded. He never got to fully live inside that success.
Rock the boat, come on. Rock the boat.
In 1998, Fleming Williams died by suicide. Founding member St. Clair Lee passed in 2011. Original member Ann Kelly died in 2023. 3 members of the group that accidentally helped ignite disco. All of them gone.
So I'd like to know where you got the notion.
They built something the whole world grabbed and held. A song that survived them. Honestly, I think they deserved more than the one-hit label puts on them. You probably feel that too. Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's one coffee a month and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8, The Floaters. Float On, 1977. Aquarius. And my name is Ralph. Now I like a woman who loves her freedom. If you just finished that sentence in your head before I did, you know this one. The Floaters. Float On, 1977. And you already know where this is going, right? Except you probably don't know where it actually started. The Floaters were from the Sojourner Truth housing projects in Detroit, Michigan. They signed with ABC Records in 1976. James Mitchell, who had been part of the Detroit Emeralds before this, put the group together. Tight harmonies, real voices, the kind of talent that deserved a longer run than they got. Float On was supposed to be an instrumental, no vocal concept at all. Then James Mitchell had a dream, a literal dream. He woke up in the middle of the night and hummed the idea into a tape recorder so he wouldn't lose it. Each member would introduce himself, his name, his astrological sign, the kind of woman he was looking for. And underneath all of it, this gorgeous, unhurried groove would just float. Somehow, against all logic, it worked. Float On spent 6 weeks at number 1 on the R&B chart. Hit number 2 pop, held back only by The Emotions' Best of My Love, number 1 in the UK. A song built on Zodiac pickup lines became one of the defining soul records of 1977. If you were anywhere near a radio that summer, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. Then ABC Records was sold in 1978. Just like that, the momentum was gone. Their second album had no push behind it. The label that discovered them dissolved before they could find out what else they were capable of. Larry Cunningham, Cancer, I Like a Woman Who Loves Everything and Everybody, passed away in January of 2019. Paul Mitchell died in December of 2021. That song was built from a dream, a literal dream, and it ended up living longer than almost anything released that year. You don't plan for something like that. Sometimes you just trust what comes out of the dark. Number 7, A Taste of Honey, Boogie Oogie Oogie, 1978. The year is 1978. A Taste of Honey has been performing for 6 years. USO tours, military bases across Europe and Asia, Spain, Japan, the Philippines. They have paid every single due there is to pay, and they are playing an Air Force Club show. The crowd is giving them absolutely nothing. Dead silence, icy stares, and Janice Marie Johnson steps to the mic and tells them, "If you think you're too cool to boogie, we've got news for you." She went back to her hotel room that night and wrote that line down. And Boogie Oogie Oogie was born. They eventually got signed to Capitol Records, a 5-album deal produced by the Mizell brothers, the same producers who had worked with the Jackson 5, and what came out was a song engineered to be inescapable. Then the record hit everywhere. Boogie Oogie Oogie went to #1 pop for 3 weeks, #1 R&B, #1 disco, and it became the first platinum single in the entire history of Capitol Records. First one, ever. Over 2 million copies sold. All of that from a line Janice Marie threw at a crowd that wouldn't move. What most people didn't know at the time, what gets buried inside the sound of that groove, is that Janice Marie Johnson was playing bass while singing lead at the same time, on a #1 record. She wasn't performing on top of the music, she was inside it. That level of musicianship, wrapped inside a disco hit, while the whole country just heard the party. Then came the 1979 Grammy Awards, Best New Artist, and A Taste of Honey walked up and took it. I need you to hear who they beat. They beat Elvis Costello. They beat the Cars, two of the most critically respected acts of that entire era, and a group with their first single went home with that Grammy. Some of you just sat up straight. Good. They had a second big hit, a cover called Sukiyaki that reached #3 in 1981. But Boogie Oogie Oogie is what the world kept. Built out of a crowd's silence. Sometimes what a crowd won't give you is exactly what you needed to find. Number 6, Jean Knight, Mr. Big Stuff, 1971. Before Jean Knight recorded Mr. Big Stuff, she was working as a baker at Loyola University in New Orleans. That is who was behind this record, a baker. Never gonna get my love. And the song itself, after it was recorded, got rejected by every national label it was sent to. Every single one. She cut it in 1970 at Malaco Studios in Jackson, Mississippi. Same studio, same session, same musicians that recorded King Floyd's Groove Me that same night. 2 separate songs, one extraordinary room, but when the labels heard Jean's record, they passed. She went back to her life. The tape sat on a shelf. Then Groove Me came out, hit #1 R&B, and suddenly Stax Records started listening to everything that had come out of that Malaco session. You're never gonna make me cry, Mr. Big Stuff. They remembered Jean Knight, released Mr. Big Stuff, and the song that every national label had said no to shot to #1 R&B for 5 weeks. 5 weeks. And came within one chart position of the pop #1, held off only by the Bee Gees' How Can You Mend a Broken Heart. Do you think I can afford to The song went double platinum, Grammy nominated, Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. If you're wondering who it lost to Aretha Franklin's version of Bridge Over Troubled Water.
You're never gonna break my heart.
There is only one way to lose a Grammy and keep your dignity completely intact, and that is it.
Who do you think you are, Mr.
Heavy D sampled it. Eazy-E sampled it. TLC interpolated the hook. Queen Latifah recorded with it. Mr. Big Stuff lived inside hip-hop for 20 years after it charted. Jean Knight never replicated it. A few minor chart appearances over the years, nothing close to that first one. She kept performing, particularly across the South, where people knew exactly who she was. Jean Knight passed away on November 22, 2023. She was 80 years old, and she died knowing that her voice, on a song every label had thrown back at her, was still playing somewhere in the world.
The big stuff. Who do you think you are?
Somebody had to believe in that song when none of the professionals did. And they were right, and the professionals were wrong. There is something in that worth holding on to.
You're never gonna get my love, big stuff.
Number 5, McFadden and Whitehead Ain't No Stopping Us Now. 1979. Gene McFadden and John Whitehead did not start as performers. They started as writers. And as writers, before they ever put their own faces on a record, they had already written some of the most important songs in the history of R&B. Backstabbers for the OJs, I'll Always Love My Mama for the Intruders, Wake Up Everybody for Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. These men were already legends. Nobody knew their faces. Everybody knew their songs. By the late 70s, they had been house writers at Philadelphia International Records for years, and they had had enough of that arrangement. When they wrote Ain't No Stopping Us Now, Kenny Gamble, who co-owned the label, heard the demo and did his level best to hand the song over to the OJs. He believed McFadden and Whitehead belonged behind the glass, not in front of the mic. They pushed back, said this was their song, their declaration, and what they were declaring was exactly what those lyrics say, that nobody was stopping them anymore. The song hit number 1 R&B, number 13 pop. It was called, and this is not hyperbole, the new Black national anthem, because those lyrics spoke to something beyond music. If you were graduating from high school in 1979, this might have been the song playing. You know what it means when a record does that. Now here is what I didn't know until I went deep into this story. On May 25, 1979, as the song was climbing, McFadden and Whitehead were scheduled to fly out of Chicago on American Airlines Flight 191. At the last moment, they decided to reschedule, pushed the flight back one day. Flight 191 crashed on takeoff from O'Hare International Airport. All 258 passengers and crew were killed.
There's been so many things that's held us down.
It remains the deadliest aviation accident in American history. 2 men who had just declared nothing could stop them, and nothing did, not even that. They never had another hit of their own. On May 11, 2004, John Whitehead was shot and killed outside his Philadelphia home. His murder was never solved. Gene McFadden died of cancer 2 years later. Two men who declared it was their time and then ran out of it too soon. But that record stopped belonging only to them a long time ago. When a song becomes everybody's song, that is how you know it was bigger than itself. Number 4, George McCrae, Rock Your Baby, 1974. Before you say you know this one, stay with me, because the song you think you know is only half the story. Rock Your Baby, 1974. George McCrae, number 1 pop for 2 weeks. Number 1 R&B. 11 million copies sold worldwide, one of fewer than 40 singles in recorded history to move more than 10 million physical units. And it was never meant to be his song, not his voice, not his name. Harry Wayne Casey and Richard Finch, who would become KC and the Sunshine Band, built the backing track in 45 minutes. A drum machine, a bass line, guitar work that cost them $15 to record. They needed a vocalist who could reach those high notes. They had Gwen McCrae in mind, George's wife, who was already finding her footing as an R&B artist. George was there that day mostly by accident. He had been managing Gwen's career. He was about to go back to school to study criminal law enforcement. Gwen was late, and while they waited, they asked George if he wanted to lay something down. Just for the moment, he did a couple of takes, and this is the part that stays with me. That was it. The track was already perfect. They didn't need anyone else. They had the song. Wait, I see you. You just did something. Either you nodded, or you sat up straight, or you said his name out loud. Good. Stay with me on this. In July of 1974, that 45-minute Florida demo became a global number 1. It hit the top in the UK, Austria, Germany, Switzerland, Belgium, Norway, the Netherlands. 11 million copies, and it traveled in ways nobody predicted. Music historians have traced the groove of ABBA's Dancing Queen back to what George McCrae and those 2 young producers built in Hialeah, Florida. John Lennon's Whatever Gets You Through the Night carries its fingerprints. 1 session, 1 accidental lead vocal, and it reached Sweden and rewrote pop history. But George McCrae never came close again. A few follow-up singles, nothing that touched it. By the time the backlash came, the mainstream had moved on. He had been accidentally in the right room at the right moment, and that moment had to carry everything that followed. What else do you do when the song finds you instead of the other way around? You go back to the room every day and hope. Sometimes that is the whole story. Number 3, Bobby Caldwell, What You Won't Do for Love, 1978. Bobby Caldwell had the album done, finished, and the executives listened and told him something was missing. There was no hit on it, so he went back into the studio by himself for 2 days, and he wrote What You Won't Do for Love. That is how close this song came to never existing. 2 days, 1 deadline, and one of the most sampled records in the entire history of hip-hop. TK Records, the same label that had launched George McCrae, signed Caldwell out of Miami, where he had spent years playing clubs and doing session work. He had toured with Little Richard as a teenager. He was a musician's musician, multi-instrumentalist, arranger, songwriter, but TK was an R&B label. Their audience was black, and Bobby Caldwell was not. So the label made a calculation. They kept his face off the album cover, released What You Won't Do for Love to R&B radio, and let the voice carry it. No image, no identity, just the sound. And that voice, warm, searching, conversational, it landed. People heard it and felt it and assumed what they assumed, because the pocket was that deep. When Caldwell started performing live, the crowds who had already fallen for the song stayed. The record reached number 9 pop, number 6 on the R&B soul singles chart. The label even pressed a special heart-shaped vinyl single for Valentine's Day 1979, reportedly the most expensive single released up to that point. And then the song just kept growing. Tupac sampled it on Do for Love. Notorious B.I.G. built Sky's the Limit around it. Common used it on The Light. J Dilla Chance the Rapper. The song became the foundation of an entire generation of hip-hop before most of that generation was born. Bobby Caldwell died on March 14, 2023. He was 71 years old, and in 2024, a year after he was gone, What You Won't Do for Love went viral on TikTok. Millions of videos, a trend nobody planned. It hit number 1 on the TikTok Billboard Top 50. The man who wrote it in 2 emergency days because a label told him he needed a hit became the soundtrack of a generation he never got to see. And whether or not you ever knew who Bobby Caldwell was, you probably felt that song before you learned his name. That is the whole thing right there. That is the whole thing. Number 2, Sylvia Robinson, Pillow Talk, 1973. Sylvia Robinson had a song, and she wrote it for Al Green, sent it to him. Al Green turned it down, said it was too risque against his religious beliefs. So she recorded it herself, and Pillow Talk hit number 1 R&B. Number 3 pop. In 1973, a gold single, a Grammy nomination, and then she walked away from performing and did something that changed everything. Sylvia had already been in the music business for 2 decades by then. She had charted in the 1950s as half of the duo Mickey and Sylvia. She co-founded a record label with her husband Joe Robinson. She was a producer, songwriter, businesswoman. Pillow Talk was a spectacular detour back into performing, but it was what came after that defines her entirely. In 1979, 6 years after Pillow Talk, Sylvia Robinson was at a party in New Jersey. She overheard some young men rapping. She had never heard anything quite like it. She went home, put together a group, named them the Sugar Hill Gang, and produced a record called Rapper's Delight, the first hip-hop record to chart on the Billboard Hot 100. the first time rap music went national. The song that opened the door for everything, for every rapper, every hip-hop album, every track you have ever heard. And it didn't stop there. Sylvia Robinson signed Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five to Sugar Hill Records, and she was the driving force behind The Message in 1982, the record that redefined what hip-hop could say and what it could ask of the world. One woman, one label, two of the most pivotal moments in all of American music history. Every single bit of it, coming after one R&B one-hit wonder in 1973. But here is what I keep coming back to. When Pillow Talk was written, Al Green heard it and said no, too much, too bold, too risky. And Sylvia Robinson said, then I'll do it myself. That one refusal, that one closed door, it sent her down a path that eventually reshaped the entire American music industry. Sometimes the door closing is the story. Sylvia Robinson passed away on September 29, 2011. She left behind Pillow Talk, an art form the world is still living inside, and a legacy no single label will ever fully contain. Number 1, Minnie Riperton, Lovin' You, 1975. Minnie Riperton was semi-retired from music when they found her. A college intern at Epic Records had heard a demo. He brought it to the label.
So beautiful, and every day of
Minnie had moved to Gainesville, Florida. She was raising 2 young kids, mostly done. She came back because of that intern and because of the chance to work with one specific person.
and we will live each day in springtime. 'Cause
Stevie Wonder. Stevie co-produced the album Perfect Angel with Minnie and her husband Richard Rudolph. But he was under contract to Motown, so he worked under the pseudonym El Toro Negro. Spanish for the Black Bull, Taurus. The arrangement had to protect everyone, and the song they were building, Lovin' You, wasn't even supposed to be on the record. Stevie had heard 8 tracks. He wanted one more. He asked Minnie and Richard for their most embarrassing song. They gave him a lullaby, something Minnie used to sing in the kitchen to get their baby daughter to sleep.
it's all I wanna do.
Their daughter's name was Maya Rudolph, who would grow up to become one of the most beloved cast members in the history of Saturday Night Live.
The colors that you bring.
That lullaby started as something you hummed to quiet a restless baby in the kitchen. And it became, for 1 week in April of 1975, the #1 song in America.
The colors that you bring, please.
But Epic Records did not want to release it as a single. They told Minnie directly she was a black artist. The song had no drums, no bass, no percussion at all.
And everything that I do is out.
Radio won't touch it, they said. It cannot work. Then Minnie started performing it live, and she watched the audience do something she had never seen.
I'm more in love with you.
People would move closer to each other, put their arms around each other. The room would change. She came back to Epic and said, "You have to put this out." Eventually they did.
Loving you has made my life.
9 months after Lovin' You hit #1, Minnie Riperton was diagnosed with breast cancer. She went public with her diagnosis, became a spokesperson for the American Cancer Society, kept recording, kept touring. She knew what was coming, and she kept going anyway. Near the end of her life, she changed the closing of the song in concert.
Loving you.
The part that repeats Maya, 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 she started singing Maya, Maya, Ringo, Maya. Ringo was her nickname for her son Mark. She kept both of her children inside the song, even when she knew she wouldn't be there much longer.
I see your soul come shining through.
Some of you just went quiet, I know. I felt that too the first time I found that detail. Give yourself a moment.
And we will live each day in springtime. 'Cause
Minnie Riperton died on July 12, 1979. She was 31 years old. And her epitaph at Westwood Village Memorial Park in Los Angeles reads, "Lovin' you is easy 'cause you're beautiful."
Maya, 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 Maya.
The first line of the song that almost didn't get recorded, that a label almost refused to release, that started as something you sing to a baby who would grow up to be famous in her own right. One song, one moment, and it has never sounded like anything else, before or since.